Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Screen Junkies Movie Fights, powered by the Popcorn Talk Network. Now your host, Andy Signore.
Greetings, Screen Junkies. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited for today's episode. We have finally both Schmoes here.
What?
From Schmoes Know and our own Hal Rudnick. This is going to be an epic episode, and we're actually pulling an audible. It's not in the back, and we're adding a fight. It's going to be a ninth fight. We're going to lead with it, so just be warned. It's not in the end card. We'll get right to it. That's basically going to talk about this new news of Andrew Garfield needing to be fired from Spider-Man so they could join the Marvel Universe. But we'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, 9 rounds this week of really exciting news. But best Ridley Scott movie, which character should be in the new Ninja Turtles movie? Mad Max Road Fury trailer, we're going to break that down. So much fun stuff. And as always, our final fight is a tease to this week's Honest Trailer. Thank you all so much for helping the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer this week. My God, we blew records for our views, like 4 million in, I think, 48 hours. It was insane, and James Gunn loved it. I can't tell you how excited we all were for that, so thank you, Screen Junkies, for helping us do that. Before I start, I once again want to talk about how grateful I'm here to be here with the Popcorn Talk Network. Guys, Popcorn Talk Network rocks, right?
It's really something special. We've been doing, we have a couple of different shows. What did it be? Star Wars shows, Jedi Alliance, Marvel shows, DC shows, and the fans have really been responding to it, especially having you guys on there. It's something for movie lovers, and I know that everybody out there for Screen Junkies, movie lovers, check out your shows, Guilty Movie Pleasures, and we have a lot of really fun hosts, a lot of comedians that we've met throughout the years, and what we've done with both Kevin Undergaro and Maria Menounos forming this network, it's great. We get personalities of people who love movies and fans who love movies.
For such a young channel, it's growing so fast. Yeah. It's like we planted 3 magic beans, and by God, we got some giants at the top of this beanstalk.
If I could just add, I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, I think most of our fans already know, but if you don't know, please go check it out. And check out the Schmoes Know podcast shows. Their stuff is awesome. They're true nerds. That's why they're always here. We love them, so go support them. Yeah. All right. As you all know, if you don't like a fight, bottom right corner, if you're watching on YouTube, you can skip to the next fight. And as always, you can find this on iTunes. So if you listen to us on YouTube, go check us out on iTunes as well. You can download the podcast, listen to it while you work out, stuff like that, right? Or in the car, like Serial, which everyone's going crazy about. Podcasts, man, they are the rage.
You can listen to it while you work out. Can you just listen to it while you lay in bed and eat pizza?
Yes,
that's what most people do. Yeah.
Commutes. Yeah. All right, awesome. Thanks. Let's get to it. We've already sort of met them, but let's meet them officially. First up, half of the Schmoes, it's Kristian Harloff.
What's going on, guys? I'm very excited to finally do the movie fights. I'm going after you, Hal. I'm coming after you.
Cool. And next to him, it's, as Hal calls, the cute... No, it's Spencer. Sorry, Spencer calls him the cute one. Does that offend you, Kristian?
No, I call him the cute one.
Oh, you both do.
Look,
it's Mark Ellis.
A lot of people call me the cute one.
I'm partial to Kristian. I like Kristian.
Am I offended? No, people love fantasy movies.
I'm here to be back. It's my second time on the show, and Nick Mundy is still nowhere to be found. I'm calling you out, woman.
Yeah.
Hey, woman, you want to fight a real man?
Yeah.
Come on.
He's always talking about when are we going to do the show, when are we going to do the show, when are we coming on his show, and the guy's not even anywhere to be found.
Yeah.
He's at home.
We keep him in a
washing
cage.
his tights.
We keep him in a cage. He's got to pull him out when we need him.
Yeah.
Next to him, it's the host of Screen Junkies Show. It's the always hilarious Hal Rudnick.
Oh, damn glad to be here. I mean, I feel like I'm in a handicap wrestling match, like Andre the Giant against against the Bushwhackers or something.
Well, you're not alone. If you need help, we have Dan Murrell, as always, on the Dan Cam. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm good, and I've already got something.
Oh,
you said Mad Max Road Fury, and it's Fury Road.
It's Fury Road.
Wow.
There's a
lot
I'm
of
just
roads,
warming up.
A lot of fury.
Road Fury is what Andy gets on the way here.
It's true.
Dan's our reality today. I love it.
So Dan is here to fact check us all. If we screw up, he is here to point it out and make us look dumb. So don't stress, but he's here to do it.
I'm not here to make you look dumb.
Well, uneducated.
Sure, yes.
And I'm the cute one.
But anyway, let's get to this. As you all know, I'm basing points. It's really up to me, but I'm trying to be as subjective as possible. Passion, comedy, facts, those are the things I'm looking for. Okay. So let's get to it. And as always, we may play this feature again. If everyone agrees on something and we need to play Devil's Advocate, you can take our Devil's Advocate DVD, which also happens to have Insomnia. It's a great value. And you can argue that you're Devil's Advocate. If you win an argument as a Devil's Advocate, you win double points.
Wow.
There could be a strategy to that if you're losing in the second half of the game, so think about it.
Can I take the Insomnia point of view on that DVD
and just
as opposed to that?
All right, let's do it. Let's in the great words of Ken Watanabe.
Let them fight.
All right, now this is a round we added, so we don't have a graphic for this because I read this morning. I wanted to bring this up. This is an issue that I found very fascinating, and I'm hoping I don't really know where everyone stands. We're going to find out. Hopefully there is a debate here. But the news is with this Sony hacking, which I don't support. I don't want to encourage it at all. But some of it's just movie news that I feel like, all right, they've reported on it. I got to respond to it. they're breaking down how Spider-Man is getting into the Marvel Universe, because we all know they've been talking Sony and Marvel, which I love. It's like, great, let's talk about it.
Yep.
And now the rumors are coming out, or truths, however, whatever they are. They're breaking down the deal of why Spider-Man's not in it, which is fascinating. And the way I broke it down sort of was that in order to get Spider-Man in Marvel, there was a 40-60 split, bunch of financials. I don't really care about all that nonsense. But one of the sticking points that stuck to me was they want to start over. They don't want Andrew Garfield. He'd be gone. They need to create a new universe that can play in Marvel Sandbox. And it sounds like that's the only way to do it. That was Sony's sticking point of no, we can't do that. Amy Pascal, I think, is really a big supporter of talent and doesn't want to just say screw you, Andrew Garfield. This just brings the interesting point, which we're adding on a 9th bonus first round. Should Sony fire Andrew Garfield so we can get Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe? Hal, let's start with you.
Yes, please. Let's get rid of Andrew Garfield. If that will help speed Spider-Man's entrance into the possible Avengers movie or something, that would be amazing. Never been a huge fan of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I think the dude's too cool. He's awesome at parkour. He's a skateboard dude. He's like the cool guy in high school. Tobey Maguire, for my money, much better Spider-Man. And let's just wash the taste of that last movie out of our mouths. Amazing Spider-Man 2 blew.
Mark.
You're not going to wash the taste of Amazing Spider-Man 2 out of your mouth if you try to cram Spider-Man into the Marvel Universe with this Civil War storyline, because we already have the Black Panther taking his place. Now you're trying to throw another hero in there. It's going to be too much. Plus, the overarching point is that Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man you can possibly have. He can do everything Spider-Man can do. He is athletic, like Hal said. He knows parkour, and he can crack jokes. He's sarcastic. He looks like the proper age to be Spider-Man, learning how to balance his superhero abilities versus falling in love. Andrew Garfield is the way to go. It should stay at Sony where he can be an independent movie. You just got to make one good one, and Spider-Man's back on the right train.
Kristian, where do you stand? We got those are really heated differences.
Great point. I'm a little bit in between, and what I would say is that going off of Mark's point is that Andrew Garfield, to me, I think is the perfect Spider-Man. I think he looks the part. I think you get that wit from Spider-Man that you always wanted from him. He delivers it well. He's always wanted to play Spider-Man, and he delivered. That is the guy that I always pictured Spider-Man to be. However, he is in a flying turd. He's been in, like, whatever you want to say about the first one, it was okay. The second one was garbage. And so when you with
But
Hal's,
it does fly.
With Hal's point of view, what happens? Amy Pascal right now, Sony is grasping at straws right now. What they have to do is they need to reinvent this franchise, and who's doing that right? Marvel. Marvel knows how to take all their characters and put them in the forefront. By the way, guess what, guys? Spider-Man is the Batman of Marvel. He is the most recognizable Marvel figure. Who better to do that? Give them the 60-40 split. Give them a 70-30. Let Marvel do what they can do. If you're still going to get distribution rights, I'm going to go with Hal here, and I think that because it's not Andrew Garfield's fault here. Andrew Garfield is a great Spider-Man, but if Marvel says we don't want to use him, we want to reboot it with someone else, you got to trust Marvel and trust that way.
And let me say to what Mark said about cramming another guy into the Civil War. The Civil War is like the entire Marvel universe. There are so many in there. Yeah, let's get Spider-Man in there, absolutely. And I think the Avengers proved they've got a pretty good track record of having a lot of mouths to feed and doing it with flying colors.
And let's not forget, it's not just the Civil War. There's eventually going to be an Infinity War, right?
Yeah.
But what you guys aren't realizing is that most of America, and indeed the world, doesn't really read these emails. They're just sick of seeing things get rebooted every 5 years.
I'm
We
not
don't
talking
need to
about the
reboot
emails. I'm talking about
Spider-Man
how
again. But I think most people are going to be like, oh, they're just rebooting Spider-Man again, and it's going to have Spider-Man fatigue. Andrew Garfield is the best guy for that job.
That's where you're off. I think you don't need to reboot Spider-Man. You have an awesome actor. Like, we got Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, and that was a fantastic
And
Hulk.
to be
And they
clear,
didn't have
hold
to
on.
reboot
To be clear,
Hulk.
they did say they would start with Spider-Man as Spider-Man. There's no more origin.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But
also
it's a new
cut
guy
back.
playing
We don't need to
Spider-Man,
see-
though.
But they're also going to cut back. Well, there's two
But it
things
was
there.
it was. How did Ruffalo work out as Hulk? Fantastic.
And there's two points to go off what Hal's saying here. Is one, yes, and that worked also because the trust in Marvel, and also they're going to scale away from that love story, which has been bogging down the Spider-Man franchise in general with Raimi versions as well. That's going to go away, and you're just going to focus on Spider-Man. If you throw him into Civil War, and apparently the rumors are there are two scripts, one with Black Panther heavily, and then one with Spider-Man and Black Panther. If they're able to pull off that deal in time, then yeah, it could work. And would the fans forgive another reboot? If Marvel did it, yes. If Sony rebooted it again, no. But if the fans are going to go, wait, Marvel's doing it, let him be 6'7" and Asian. It's fine, whatever it is.
Kristian, I didn't go reading other people's emails like you apparently did. I just know it's a good idea.
So, Mark, I want to push you because they're sort of teaming up on you, but I want to give you your third
Yeah,
shot.
Andy.
Why do you not? I mean, do you think Sony's Spider-Man universe is though worthy of keeping one piece of talent around?
Andrew Garfield is the best guy for the job, and I think that everything that's happened to Sony, I think that when they have this big Spider-Man summit in January, where all their minds are going to get together and come up with the best story for Spider-Man, I think that's a positive thing that happened to Sony. Is that their empire has crumbled and they need to rebuild from the ground up. They need to take a cue from what Marvel's been able to do and what DC's been doing recently. I think they have the ability to do that, especially when Andrew Garfield was the guy for the job, and he came out and said that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had some script problems, had some development, had too many cooks in the kitchen. This guy knows the right direction to take Spider-Man, so
but
if you
these
let
are,
him lead it.
to be clear, these are the same cooks that'll be in the same kitchen. So
No, they're going to kick a bunch of people out of the
many
kitchen. They're going to
cooks.
have
Maybe.
one cook. They're going to have one chef.
And the biggest problem is that Andrew Garfield is a casualty of war. That's really what it comes down to. He is the right guy for Spider-Man. I totally agree with that. But the problem is,
I'm not married to him.
If he stays with Sony, the way Sony is now, I agree with you that with whether you have it Mark Webb complaining about or James Horner or Garfield, there was too many people going, hey, this is what it should be, and they don't know what they're doing, and that's clearly why they're speaking to Marvel. And Marvel, they're going to give them creative control. If Marvel wants to change them, they got to let them change them because Marvel has a right direction for their Marvel Cinematic Universe, and maybe Garfield doesn't fit into it.
You guys are giving him the same raw deal that Zuckerberg gave him in the Social Network. This is crap right now. You guys are ousting him out of Spider-Man.
But here's the thing:
I love the guy.
do you want to keep it in the hands of someone who just made junk, or do you want to put it in the hands of someone who's weaving it into gold? Give it to Marvel.
Weaving it
it's
into
not-
gold.
it's a lot of pressure on Marvel. I mean, do we really want to give them another franchise?
That's what I'm
that
saying.
then
It's cramming
They're
just
gonna
another
fail
dude.
at some point. They got it. At
haven't
some
yet.
point, they're gonna stumble. But by giving them more universes to play in, are
But
we
you're
are we
giving
gonna
them-
rehash ourselves in these superhero stories to death so much that we got nothing left?
That's all we want.
Do we want to leave Sony to like screw up there and let Marvel have a little bit more?
I think it weakens Marvel's position if they're kind of like, oh, we're waiting to see if Spider-Man gives
Right.
us a call
Right.
here. I think that makes them look weak. They had this universe set up with Black Panther in the Civil War storyline. Let them be, and let Spider-Man be great on his own.
But Spider-Man is in the actual comic book storyline of this. That's why it would really, really
the genius
work.
of Marvel is that they never had to stick to the
No, they don't have-
storylines.
No, they don't have to. But the other thing that you could say is look at what X-Men and Fox. Okay, for a long time, everyone was talking about X-Men going back to Marvel, and this goes more or less. Mark's point is that X-Men then had First Class, and then Days of Future Past. No one is talking about X-Men going back.
Yeah, because they made good movies.
That's the
Yeah,
point. The point is if Sony can pull it together somehow with an Andrew Garfield, for one, like Mark said, then people could forgive. But right now,
how many chances do we want to
right.
give them? They
You're right.
fumbled
How
the
many
ball.
chances did Hugh Jackman get playing Wolverine? He was in a terrible Wolverine movie, but then the studio was able to make a good movie around him, and now look, everybody's excited for Apocalypse.
He was in a bad one. The most recent one wasn't terrible.
What, Days of Future Past?
No, the most recent Wolverine movie in Japan.
that was all right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
We can all agree on that.
Well, it was also
Yeah.
following up First Class too. So
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is fascinating. I was actually really enjoying that battle. I'm glad we had it. But the question, though, I still am hurdled on is like, what's the greater good here? Is it worthy? Because I'll just play my cards now. I'm leaning towards, I think he is a casualty of war, and we want to put him in the better studio where he can have the funner playground and hopefully do it. But before I just say that, like, what's the ideal Spider-Man scenario for each of you?
I think the best scenario for me is Andrew Garfield being in a Sinister Six storyline where maybe you can acquire the rights to another character that could be in a Sony film, like The Punisher or something like that, if those rights were to become available. But I think Spider-Man at Sony, and plus Marvel, I think it behooves them to not adapt their storyline to another character coming over from Sony and just staying the course that they have.
Well,
Doesn't Marvel have Punisher rights?
Yeah.
Yeah. Marvel has the
Marvel has
Punisher.
He ain't going to be in
Yeah.
Civil War.
Well,
He can come
actually,
over.
that makes me ask a different question. Do we care that Spider-Man had his own universe for 2 movies? Like, do they really factor into Marvel's plan? Like, couldn't they? Is there enough there that we can just ignore and just let Spider-Man do his thing?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, he's such a known entity. Like that's why they're just putting Batman into Batman vs Superman. It's like that. You know, it's the same thing with Spider-Man just
But that was
entering
a
universe.
desperation move initially. At least that's the way it looked with DC. Is that Superman didn't do what we wanted it to on its own. We better put Batman in here. Marvel doesn't have to do that. They have great movies already. They have great stories already. Now you're going to have to alter that story to get get in this guy from a different
You're
studio.
not
It's
going
like
to have
old-
to alter it that more. It's going to be like, oh wow, what was awesome just got even better.
It's like old school wrestling is the way I look at it too. WCW and WWF. Back in the day when Randy Savage shows up to WCW and no one expected it, and he pops onto the scene after a very successful brand already, but yet you have this big character that pops in. The fans would lose their mind whether it's Garfield or someone else. It doesn't matter if it's rebooted because you're not rebooting the entire story. You're throwing him into an existing storyline universe that is working for Marvel. That is why I think that I would actually like to see Andrew Garfield go over there, but it's clearly not what Marvel wants. If that would be my perfect scenario, is that Andrew Garfield is allowed to continue over into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's everybody's scenario.
However, it's not going to happen, and I think that because if they got the rights back, and it's going to go even further, you've got to get a younger actor, because Andrew Garfield, don't forget, is in his 30s. He might look like he's 18, but he's in his 30s.
So do all those 90210 kids, but they can play high schoolers just fine.
I can't believe we're arguing about the possibility of Spider-Man on that playing field playing with the Avengers. That would be so much fun, and it's not going to be that hard. Look at the way they integrated the Hulk with Ruffalo. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be such a delightful side dish to that entree.
I gotta call it, and I think you were both on the fence, but you gave a really good argument there that I was thinking of. It's like Marvel did such a great job with Ruffalo. It's such a minor part of that movie, and they made it to like if they could do that with Spider-Man, I'm with you as well. Of like the fanboy in me would just go, oh man, yes, because it's like finally he's not in a turd. Right. So I'm gonna give Hal and Kristian points, and Mark didn't get on the board.
You want Spider-Man as a side dish. I like him as the entree.
So, very, very heated and very worthy battle. I'm glad we did that. That was fun. All right. Now
that was a fun show. Oh, there's more.
we got 8 more. We might have to fast through.
No, you're actually eliminated.
All right, we're going to the first official round on the docket, which, thanks to, obviously, Exodus, Gods and Kings is coming out this weekend, directed by Ridley Scott. It came out this weekend. So, Sean Hughes on Twitter asked us for Fight 1. There it is. Best Ridley Scott movie. And we're going to start with you, Kristian, this round. What do you think?
This is a no-brainer. It's Gladiator. It's absolutely Gladiator. He had a lot of hits before then, and he built up his reputation, but it was the one. He built that epic film and put Russell Crowe on the map. You stopped thinking of him in Virtuosity and all. It was a great ensemble cast, but also had some lines you're never going to forget. Who doesn't still quote, "Are you not entertained?" There's so many, and the graphic, the way that he portrayed the Roman culture and the Greeks and just the way that movie was put together. You felt it. The Hans Zimmer score, the battles, that just the chariots going around, and the fact that you had this revolt, and the way everyone remembered Spartacus as the ultimate gladiator movie. And before this movie, the only gladiator you thought of was the one with James Marshall and Cuba Gooding Jr. That eliminated that out of history. It was forever Ridley Scott, Russell Crowe. It doesn't matter how crazy Russell Crowe was behind the scene. He was electrified as Maximus. You saw him, and Joaquin Phoenix.
Let me ask you a quick question. Yeah. Do you like gladiator movies, Kristian?
I do indeed, and don't call me Shirley.
Mark, been in a Turkish bathhouse? I think Gladiator is a great movie. It features some fantastic performances, some all-time lines, but Ridley Scott's best film is clearly 1979's Alien. The way that he built that slow burn, building up and making a science fiction piece, also a horror film, and leading us into this incredible universe that we've gotten, making a female star the lead action hero with Ripley, Sigourney Weaver playing her, and how he didn't need to rely on big budget effects, how he could make such a tiny thing be so scary on this spaceship. You feel claustrophobic watching that movie. You feel terrified. You feel like an alien might be coming out of your chest. And so from start to finish, I think that's his best film, because it started here and it ended here at this all-time high of scariness and desperation and terror. You did not get that in a Ridley Scott film since then, because Gladiator, I think, was just I think it got a little bloated. It's a great movie, but it's a little bloated. Alien is a perfect film.
Hal?
Those are both good movies, great movies, but I gotta go as Ridley Scott's best film, Thelma and Louise. And I realize that might be an uncommon choice because he has a great body of work, but Thelma and Louise has the most powerful female protagonist we've seen, and there hasn't been better since, okay? It's one of the strongest films where women are just allowed to get drunk, shoot people, drive drunk, break the law.
My kind of women.
Commit manslaughter, just hang with the dudes and be awesome. Also, it's Ridley Scott's most fun film. What a joyride that movie is. And talk about iconic moments, that going over the cliff. man. And while we're talking about your movie, like I can't go Alien because the sequel Aliens is better than Alien, and I'm not going to go Gladiator because just as far as like those kind of epic movies, Braveheart one-upped Gladiator, already. So Thelma and Louise.
So, two things.
Yes, go down.
Russell Crowe, I don't know if Gladiator put him on the map because he was nominated for an Oscar the year before for The Insider, and he'd done LA Confidential. So, but it definitely helped raise his star.
Commercial
hit,
Raised his star meter and
Yeah.
got him an Oscar.
And Hal, just to make sure, are you going on record saying that Thelma and Louise is better than Blade Runner?
Well,
It's really putting you on the spot.
is Alien better than Blade Runner? Is
That's
Blade
what
Runner
we're here
better
to
than
talk
Alien?
about.
Yeah, but
those-
Dan, are you entering the ring with
I
Blade
would-
Runner as your
I'm
choice?
just asking. I'm here to get everything on the books and, for the record. I just want to make sure that the record is clear. That's all.
Hal chose Thelma and Louise over Blade Runner.
Are there retorts?
But
I would say
We
just
will.
as far as like the most fun watch, like if what do I want to sit down and watch? Thelma and Louise.
All right. Blade
is
Runner's
quite
not
a
on the
commitment.
docket. We have to now. It
I
could've
just
been-
felt that
obviously
our
a great
fans
film.
would go crazy if the name Blade Runner was not invoked.
I think
Yes.
you called
in
them
this
out.
argument,
Well,
so.
you called them all out because no one picked it. But
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have picked it either, to be honest. So what we did pick was Gladiator, Alien, Thelma and Louise. Yes. Now let's talk about it. Knock each other down. Who's got a point?
I mean, look, Alien's a great movie, sure, but if you watch it, out of the three of the movies that we just talked about, mine is the one mine and yours. Alien is dated. You clearly see the 70s imprint on Alien. It's a great movie, sure, and it feels a horror, but you absolutely feel the years on that, and it doesn't hold up the same. Like Al said, Aliens is a much better sequel. It's got you feel the terror, you feel the fear more so than you did initially. Right? If you hadn't seen all these other movies that you can compare it to now, Alien, if you go back in time, you hop in a DeLorean, you could probably still get scared. Now you see it. It doesn't hold up. As far as Thelma and Louise, you mentioned iconic moments. You mentioned the one that everyone talks about. They go off the cliff. How about the fact that Maximus kills a tiger? How about the fact that you have Joaquin Phoenix stabbing him because he can't fight him one-on-one? You have all these moments as far as I will have my revenge in this line and the next. There's some great quotable lines throughout that movie. There's so much you can talk about in Gladiator. People use quotes from songs and rap music, and you continuously have all of this. It had an impact. And you talk about Braveheart. Braveheart came first in 1995.
Thelma and Louise are in a rap song. Don't you know the song? I like to eat cheese like Thelma and Louise.
I do. I know, but which one's better, that or Jay-Z's? And if you talk about, and as far as 1995's Braveheart, yes, that was the first one to come. Gladiator came in 2000, and it did the same thing. It won Oscars, and people were talking about that. It replaced Braveheart. Braveheart I still like it a little better. However, Gladiator was the one. We're talking about Ridley Scott. That's his best movie.
yeah, but look, how's that CGI tiger holding up? By the way, in Gladiator,
It's not a CGI tiger. Not a CGI tiger.
Those scenes are pretty brutal to watch now.
No way.
When he's fighting the tiger, it's like clearly like Bourne Identity because
Dan, was that a CGI tiger?
It's not a CGI tiger.
I prefer the practical effects of 1979's Alien. Plus, if you want to talk about protagonists, whether you're talking about Maximus or you're talking about Thelma and Louise, his best protagonist was Ripley. Because what happens to the female protagonists at the end of Thelma and Louise? Do they survive and continue on to these great adventures? Nope, they got to drive off the cliff because that's the only choice for the female protagonist in that film. In Alien, you can survive and you can move on, you can further the human race, and you can defeat the alien. Now, when you talk about Gladiator, it's like a great double album by Rush, okay? There's like 4 great songs on there, then there's a lot of filler. It's 3 hours, there's great moments in Gladiator, but as a film,
It's 220.
I-
2 hours and 20
I think
minutes.
it's fair to say there's filler in all 3 of these films.
I disagree with that.
Alien's
being
a slow build the whole time.
But I just argue that's filler.
Emphasis on slow. So, and I would say it's not like a cop-out ending for them to go over the cliff.
It's a beautiful ending.
Yeah, and that is saying, F you, happy Hollywood endings. These women don't have to find
Unity.
the perfect guy. They don't have to go out and get married or whatever and go go be barefoot in the kitchen like you want them, Ellis. Like you demand them to be, Harloff. You want your women just pregnant.
The only reason you took this is because you love watching Brad Pitt. That's the only reason you took this.
Man, he is in his prime as a grade A. Those women are so badass, and it's such a fun movie. Talk about just road trip, like women.
The movie Road Trip with Tom Green?
Right.
Yeah, let's talk about Road Trip.
Good flick.
Yeah,
with
good.
Tom
They
Green.
survived.
Ridley Scott, he was an advisor on that film.
Hey Dan, I just want to point something out that Hal does. Can I put it out on the
Yes,
record?
please.
Can you give us the impression of Hal as if he was defending Road Trip right now? Because you did two of your catchphrases that I want to point out to our audience.
All right, I'm out of here.
You want me to argue for Road Trip? Like, okay. So, like, if it was like the best comedy of the 2000s.
Not fair.
Okay. Okay, here's the thing about Road Trip. It is an iconic comedy classic of the 2000s. You have Tom Green at the height of his powers. So many great moments. So and the thing is, there's so many other great comedies, but Road Trip is the one from the 2000s that people remember.
Oh, that's good. That is iconic.
That was
an iconic Hal impression.
That was mean. I apologize.
Also,
send in your best Hal impressionist and get a T-shirt.
Man.
Hal,
hey, but at the end of the day, now I heard Hal say iconic 4 times. I couldn't do it.
You're in my head every week.
All right, any facts here before I wrap this up?
Gladiator, the tiger was a mix of live action. There was some green screen. The tiger, I don't think was ever fully CGI, but there was some CG work done to combine it and make it more.
Brad Pitt,
the actual tiger was not.
The actual tiger itself was not CGI, but there was some composite.
You know what? You win points on the tiger, but my movie's better. How about that? That sounds
all right.
fair.
I gotta call it. It's a tough one. To be honest, they all have their points, and you all made valid points. The female protagonist, great, but I give you the edge on the female protagonist because Ripley to me was even the first one of all those. And I gotta ultimately give you the ultimate win because
iconic.
I think it is the iconic, and I think yes, you were swayed me a little bit with the data and all those things, but that's unfair. It's like it's not that dated. We didn't have the technology,
and you don't have these other movies unless Ridley Scott made a great film with Alien.
He started so much more than Gladiator started, and then sadly what Gladiator started was Troy and Kingdom. It was just like
300.
Yeah,
so many things that ended to it, but it was very close. I'm giving it to Mark. Good debate though. Very good debate.
Wait. Turn back the clock. I'm
gonna give
Blade Runner.
I'm gonna give Hal a point for being mean and calling him out.
Hal, I'm sorry.
Hal, you get a point as well.
Hal, you took that
on the chin like a pure gentleman.
Now you have to defend the counselor.
Hal's on the board for allowing us to make fun of him.
That sex scene on the car.
And Mark gets a point for winning.
She humps a windshield.
All right, we got to wrap through. Hopefully, no one kicks me out. We're gonna try and get through all these. Round 2. We got a lot of shows to do here at the network. This is a fun one too. Robert Orci is dropped out of Star Trek 3. I'm not going to say it's good or bad, but I'm kind of excited. I feel like there's some things he did in the scripting and things that I wasn't a fan of in part 2. So this opens up the reins. And Rob Carnes on Twitter asks us, who should direct Star Trek 3? The franchise, I feel like, is going strong. Even with the stumble of Into Darkness, I feel like they have a great cast. They're in a fun world. If they could just stop rehashing their old movies and go into something new. Who do we want at the helm of this? Mark, you're up first.
Who better to captain the ship to go boldly where the franchise has never gone before other than Neil Blomkamp, who did District 9 and Elysium. I think that the vision that he creates, he has a social agenda occasionally, but I think that's going to fit a lot better into a Star Trek universe than into something like a Star Wars, because Star Trek can be a little political with the saving the whales and all that cool thing. You can have a little bit of a message. Plus, after the fluffiness that was Star Trek Into Darkness, you can get a little more serious and gritty. Plus, the way that guy does effects and the way that he does Aliens is second to none. I think Neil Blomkamp is the guy to make Star Trek 3 a more real, grittier, better action science fiction adventure.
How?
So you want a true nerd to helm the franchise, someone who cares about the subject matter, and there's no one better than Edgar Wright, okay? He was supposed to get Ant-Man. It would have been his real welcome to Hollywood, and Scott Pilgrim was a box office failure, but that was a fun movie. Yes. Such a fun movie. He's got the sense of fun, and his buddy Simon Pegg is in the movie already. He's got such a great track record. Edgar Wright has he is a streak of success. Let's give him the big movie that he deserves. How exciting would that be for nerds, for fans to see, yes, Edgar Wright is finally getting this big Hollywood movie to direct. It should be him all day long. That would be exciting. Yeah, Neil Blomkamp is fine. He's a great director, great sci-fi director, but Edgar Wright is more exciting to me.
So it's sort of our, sorry about Ant-Man, take this type of argument, which I don't disagree with. Kristian.
Sylvester Stallone. No.
Is this Nick Mundy?
Yeah, I totally I agree. I agree you need a fan. I agree you need someone who knows franchises and really knows how to build these big blockbusters and is absolutely a geek at heart, and that's Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau is a guy who, what did he do? He started the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That Iron Man 1 movie is the one that started it all, and that all is because of the fandom that Jon Favreau had, his vision for it. And you can't talk about Iron Man 2 if that's going to be a point, because he was rushed. When he's not rushed and he has time to be able to work on movies, you can tell he's a fan. Plus, He is a big Star Wars fan. Okay, Star Wars fans have worked on this franchise before with J.J. Abrams. Obviously, it's worked out before. It'll work again. There's authority you can't touch on for that because he didn't have the budget he wants. When you give him a budget, when you give him creative control, and you give him the right, he works with actors. He's a director's actor, and that is what you need because these actors are going into a third movie. They need a leader, and Jon Favreau is that leader. And
I don't know. Is he the nerd at heart that we want? When he's on his own doing his thing, he makes Chef. When Edgar Wright is on his own, he makes Shaun of the Dead. He makes Hot Fuzz. He makes these homages to nerd
Neil
culture.
Blomkamp makes science fiction films, and Jon Favreau's a Star Wars fan. I have a question. Who isn't a Star Wars fan? Everybody loves Star Wars. And
right.
Jon Favreau, what was the problem with Iron Man 2? Is the studio rushed him. They want this movie to come out in 2016. Neil Blomkamp was able to take over a project that Peter Jackson was not able to complete. I think Neil Blomkamp is District 9. He worked under Peter Jackson.
That was his movie. That was his original movie, and that's the whole reason Neil Blomkamp wouldn't be right for this, because Neil Blomkamp, like you said, a little bit of a political agenda. Every one of his movies has political agendas.
Absolutely.
And when he was asked if he would ever do a Star Wars movie, he was like, nah, and he shot it down. His heart wouldn't be into it. He wants to do original content the same way Edgar Wright wouldn't be right for it, because the reason that Ant-Man didn't work out is because he didn't fit into that universe. Now you're going to fit Edgar Wright into another movie that is coming off of a third film and say, oh, put your spin on it. It's going to be the same thing that happens, because it's going to be an Iron Man 3 situation. You got a Shane Black movie for Iron Man 3. You didn't get that cinematic universe to where they need Star Trek 3. They don't need an Edgar Wright standalone. They don't need a message film. They need to continue the franchise, and Jon Favreau's the guy.
Yeah, but Favreau made Cowboys and Aliens, and that was a disaster. He had a chance to make a science fiction film, and it was crap. Neil Blomkamp is
an original one, mind you.
Neil Blomkamp is a great science fiction director. This guy deserves to be able to take a franchise to the next level and to an interesting place.
I think he's too political, and I want to say to what you were saying, Kristian.
Vote Blomkamp.
You're basically saying, Kristian, let's give it to a company man who could churn out a product, as opposed to Edgar Wright, who might have a unique vision. That's what you absolutely said.
But I'm not saying that he's a company man. What I'm saying is that he understands the vision and understands as far as to combine it.
You're saying he'll work in those parameters. Edgar Wright could do that.
Edgar Wright, but he won't. It obviously didn't work with Ant-Man. What happened? Because Edgar Wright wanted to make an Edgar Wright movie, which would have been fantastic, but it would have not have fit into the rhythm.
Would that be a bad thing if there was a little bit of whimsy and like nerd joy?
This is a great silver medal match.
If it was the first movie,
makes great science fiction films.
If it was the first movie,
that's
yes,
true. But
so let me chime in on that, because this is great. Is he fun? Neil Blomkamp, like Star Trek, I feel like, especially the first
Neil
one,
Blomkamp is not
fun. Like, sell me on why, because I agree he could make a nice, gritty, strong, and I don't even mind the political thing they're arguing, because Star Trek's full of politics, and there's a lot of things you can...
There's always political agendas in Star Trek. That's what makes Star Trek interesting.
Is everyone poor in the Star Trek?
Where's the fun in Neil Blomkamp? Like, tell me on that.
The fun is in the Star Trek characters that you already have created from the first two movies and from the previous films. I mean, you have Captain Kirk and you have Leonard Nimoy. You have You have Spock. You have these guys that already have their relationship.
I'm telling you,
so
man.
He's coming into this universe, and he knows how to inject some serious stuff in there.
Blomkamp is going to get caught up with the ethical treatment of tribbles, and it's going to be a whole PETA. It's going to be a whole PETA thing.
And everybody's going to be sad and depressed the whole time.
And are you coming from him because of District 9, or are you a fan of Elysium as well?
I thought Elysium was great, too. Yeah, and look, there's a scene in Elysium. There's an action shot when they blow up that robot, and it just looks
Elysium.
So neat. The way that this guy can visually make a stunning film, I think he can be great for Star Trek.
Well, there you go. See, visually, all three of these directors will make this thing look visually incredible. That's not what we need.
They're all three
Would you
Star
say
Wars
a visual
fans.
smorgasbord?
That's exactly what it is. Everyone, Edgar Wright, Blomkamp, Favreau, they'd all make a visually fun Star Trek film. But we need more than that. We need someone who's going to be able to really develop characters. And I think as far as developing, and not original characters, developing characters that have been there before, that we're familiar with. And Jon Favreau also has the age, I believe, as well, too.
I'm a fan of Favreau. I think it's a great choice. My only concern with Favreau, and help me get there, is he didn't do Iron Man 2 well. Like, and that was more of what this is. This is part 3. It's like, you're there, the characters have been established, we're in this world, and he did get too much he buckled to the pressure and couldn't make a better film, but to his credit, he did leave,
right,
and was like, all right, see ya,
still had the
relationship,
and still had the relationship to come back and to be in a part in 3.
But how can we justify that he can take the reins of an existing franchise when he couldn't even continue his own?
Because here's the difference with the rush. The rush with the studio for Iron Man 2 was, go develop the script, go do this, quick, we got to get it out for release time. The Star Trek
and Avengers.
Right, the Star Trek script, the third one, it's already there. It's already done. They need someone to come in here. He's being hired now as a director and doesn't have to crunch down on a script. So he's coming in there. You're hiring for a job to say, here's the script that we want. obviously give us your notes and work with the actors. He's respected. He's coming off as Chef. Chef is a smaller movie, but Chef, what did Chef do in regards to money in the small amount of theaters that it was? He puts together.
Hey, I will
stuff.
say, watching it made me hungry. The food was lovingly shot, and Chef is a good movie.
Right.
But man, Edgar Wright just brings that nerd cred. And if you say the script is already written, let this
That's
man.
going to work against Edgar Wright because Edgar Wright likes his own material. Edgar Wright is going to do so many. Favreau will have a few rewrites.
I mean,
Edgar
you're
Wright's
basically
gonna
saying
do the whole
that
thing.
Edgar Wright is completely incapable of playing nice. And
No,
I
don't think that's the
I think
case,
he could
though.
step in and helm this thing and give it some whimsy and nerd cred and fun.
But you got to compare it with Ant-Man. Then I would ask the same question Andy just asked me. Then what happened with Ant-Man? Why didn't it work out? If he's going to make it so much more fun, why couldn't he come and why couldn't he come to head with Marvel?
My guess is Marvel didn't want to take the risk because they had Guardians of the Galaxy on, and that was before they realized they had a massive hit on their shoulders, and they got nervous, and they said, "You know
I
what?
don't think that
I
was
don't
the
want to
case.
do it." And I think now they're regretting that choice.
No,
and
I
I
don't
think
at all.
they should have kept him on.
I don't.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'm not
I don't,
sure.
I don't agree with
I'm
that
not
at all.
sure where the Star Trek 3 script is. I don't know if it's totally finished or not. I just think the best guy to make a science fiction film, which is at heart what Star Trek 3 is going to be, is Neil Blomkamp. That's the answer. He makes the best science fiction
So I'm
movies.
stuck again because I've laid my cards out again, but I think he's too serious is my problem with him, and I think I'm worried about Favreau getting it to that place again. But you made a good point, the script. But I'm leaning a little bit to Edgar Wright, but I'm worried because I don't know if he can play in the existing playground. He clearly needs to have his own.
Remember
And the
with
problem with Edgar Wright also is I feel like he needs to be involved in that creative process of the script. And to me, that's why Ant-Man might actually be okay. It's because they're going to use a ton of what he already did.
Yeah, but and
in this
remember,
case, if he's stepping into a script that's made, I don't really want Edgar Wright to do that. I want Edgar Wright to do the original stories, and so I'm leaning towards Jon Favreau, and he wins.
What a tease!
I worked it
you are.
around, and that's what I got.
What a
Good choices, but I think
good
if the
choices.
script's done, I want Edgar Wright to do it. I want him to be involved in that script.
Yeah, me too.
And I want to see what he does with it, and he should do part 4.
And there was
Can Neil
a-
Blomkamp be the DP on that? Can you do something?
There was an interview
you
that
almost,
dropped.
if you had dropped Chappie a little bit, you might have swayed me, but you didn't even bring it up. And he's got that looks a little bit more fun and serious. All right, we're moving on. Sorry, Dan.
There was an interview that dropped this week that said, I believe it was with Evangeline Lilly, that said that Ant-Man was not part of the cinematic universe, and that probably led to why he left, because he developed it as a completely standalone movie.
All right, so I added a point to Kristian. Nice work. We're moving on to round 3.
Chappie looks good.
Looks fun. Johnny 5.
Bebop and Rocksteady were confirmed finally to be in
Yay.
Ninja Turtles 2. And I got a shout out. I'm personally excited about this director they've picked. I know him. I hope it happens. Dave Green is fantastic.
He should do the
He's
next
a
Star Trek
fantastic
movie.
individual. Don't be mean. He's a visionary. He's done some amazing shorts.
Dave Green,
and
you're
things.
fantastic. We'd love to
People
have you on
will
the Screen
learn.
Junkies Show.
People will learn. He's such a good find for them, and he knows how to work cheap, quickly, and company player, but also have that original vision. I just don't think people know him, and I'm ecstatic that hopefully that closes and that happens. But that said, Bebop and Rocksteady have been confirmed by the producers that they are going to finally bring that in. Who else do we want to see in this movie? There's so many characters in the Ninja Turtles universe, cartoons, comics, everything. Who do we want to see? We're starting with you, Hal.
So there are a lot of obvious ones that I think have already been confirmed to be in the movie or been talked about, but for my money, the coolest character in the TMNT universe would be Slash. Slash is a snapping turtle that was a pet of the Turtles, and then Slash became a mutant, and Slash can be a double agent. Slash has been both a friend to the Turtles, and Slash has been an infiltrator of the Turtles and worked against them, and that would create a really cool storyline of this kind of double agent going in there to break up the Turtles.
Never trust a snapping turtle.
No.
Kristian.
It's an easy slam dunk. It's Casey Jones, and he's played by CM Punk. That's it. You're done. That's exactly who you need in this movie. If you want to have Casey Jones, because what you just said there, I'm not a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. I watched the movie, the first movie that came out, and I loved it. But when I hear that description that you said, that just sounds ridiculous and silly to me, and I don't know who that snapping turtle
We're
is.
talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja
Right.
Turtles who are inherently
But you're saying
ridiculous and silly.
right? But I'm already.
They were developed
I know
to
that,
be ridiculous
but
and
this is
silly.
the one character, Casey
Snapping
Jones.
turtles.
But this is the one character that is not, and Casey Jones with a hockey mask. kicking people's asses around, and the human character that is finally not Will Arnett going, oh, hey, you want to get in the car and look at my feet? You don't have to worry about that guy anymore. You have a cool human character again because you already have the silly characters in the Turtles. Casey Jones is the guy. And cast CM Punk. That is the way that you make that character even more awesome than he is.
I think Casey Jones is terrific, and unlike you, I'm a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, but I think that what the Turtles don't need is another hero or another person that might be here, might be a villain. You need a strong villain, and the way that this first movie, the reboot, slanted towards the science and the progression, the genetics of it all, that's when you can bring in a character we've never been able to see on the big screen before. You finally have the technology to do it. Krang, the brain that is the heart, the center. He is the guy. He's the head evil. He's the emperor to Shredder's Darth Vader. He created the Technodrome, which is like the Death Star of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles galaxy. He's trying to look for a way to create a body that can destroy the Turtles, and that's what's fun to me. You don't need another guy that's going to be teaming up with the Turtles. The Turtles are fine, and by the way, the Turtles didn't have enough screen time as it was in the first film, and they're the only heroes that we need. So let's get those 4 heroes to fight against an enemy worthy of their ability, which would be Krang.
I'm excited on all 3 of these, to be honest. So let's see who.
Yeah, I mean, Krang is a really obvious choice. I think we all.
Is it? I don't know who that is.
We all want to see Krang.
Oh, don't say that. You just lost the point.
But as far as
Here's the thing,
as far as I know that he's like the main villain guy, but as far as like when you talked about it with people who don't know the franchise, that's what I mean. Is like when you talk to people, like regular people, they've heard of Casey Jones, they've heard of Raphael, Michelangelo, they've heard of all that, but they don't know.
Here's the reason
Krang,
I don't want to see.
A lot of people are going to say who.
So we only have to pander to people who've never heard of Ninja Turtles.
Because
why I'm hesitant
the
about
Turtle
Casey
fans.
Jones. Casey Jones had a little bit of a side love story with April O'Neil. The last thing I want is more Megan Fox up in this piece.
Right.
Well,
I think they need to focus on the Turtles and the camaraderie between Casey Jones. And the reason, like I said, you guys are hardcore Turtles fans. Okay.
Yes.
Now there are a lot. What this movie now is a sequel that is going to bring in a new audience, because anytime someone's the first one was pretty popular, I'll go see the second one. I'll bring the kids to it too, and it's going to bring in adults who have never seen this movie before.
I don't agree with that. I think they learned that the first one did well because they had a fan base, but it didn't do well enough.
It
and
did
I think
well,
they didn't
man.
play. It didn't do as well as they didn't do Transformers.
Yeah,
and they want this to be a universe.
We need to make a second one.
They want the fans to not be complaining all over
We need
social
more
media.
of that
and I think they
elevator
want to
scene.
embrace. That's why they're bringing Bebop and Rocksteady.
Fine.
That's why they're announcing it now, because they want to be like, we heard you. We're gonna fix it.
And that's
make
why
it
they
even
need
better.
Casey Jones.
By the way, I think
Don't disagree. Casey Jones is a great character.
Casey Jones is an awesome character, and
Yeah.
I'd love to have him in the next movie, but I think that the character that you need is Krang, because Bebop and Rocksteady were the underlings of Krang. He was the one in the cartoons that was sending them out on all these little missions, and then you have the Shredder as the intermediary, but they have to report to somebody. It can't just be Shredder again. It cannot just be Shredder again, and Bebop and Rocksteady are great ancillary characters, but they're not the main villain. The Turtles would end them in Act 1, and I don't want to have a snapping turtle running around guessing, is he for good, is he for bad? I don't want to have a silly subplot line. I want to have them versus the ultimate evil in this universe, which is Krang.
We have a lot of fights this round. I'm going to call this one early because it's easy for me, and if you'd like to know why, you can watch our How to Fix Ninja Turtles Screen Junkies episode where we did this in great detail, and I was very passionate for Krang! Because I agree the biggest problem with the movie was just the villain sucked.
Shredder, my body!
You gotta open up that universe, and you gotta give the foil to not only the Turtles,
Krang
but to
would be
Shredder.
awesome.
I think
And Krang
Casey
would
Jones is
amazing.
going to be in the second one, though. And
And
now that
I
we're
think-
done,
I
I'd
think
love
Casey
to see
Jones
Casey
would be
Jones.
great too, but I'm gonna not take away a point for you.
Can CM
But I'm
Punk
not gonna
act?
give you a point.
No, I understand. I was taking the reason I
All right,
was
so
saying
a point
that
for Mark.
Yeah, taking it away from another point of view.
All right, great. We are moving on to round 4.
Can I just say?
Oh, please, Dan. Sorry, before we go to 4.
That honest trailer for Ninja Turtles 2 could get really interesting for us. I hope you don't lose a friend, Andy.
That's true. Please don't mess up, David.
Don't worry, come on the Schmoes Show. We'll never make fun of you.
He's been
All
on the
right,
show.
Hey,
round
you might make a
4.
good
Dave's
movie.
been on the show.
Round 4. The new trailer for Mad Max Fury Road dropped this week. I think we all are excited. It looks pretty badass. Harvey Dreyer on Twitter asked us about it. Will Mad Max Fury Road be better than the old Mad Max movies? What do you guys think? Do we all like the trailer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love the trailer.
Love
Yeah.
the trailer.
Christian. I'm sorry. Mark, you're up first.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the new movie is going to be great. I can't wait to see it. I think that the old one, I don't think it's ever going to be able to replace the old one as the greatest Mad Max of all time.
The reason why I think it will is because you have the same guy doing it.
Yeah.
And if it was someone else, then I'm like, I don't know, you're not going to be able to replace that. But this is a guy who knows the world.
We're moving on. Sorry, Kristian, you're giving us. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, created.
So wait, Mark, you're saying the original is better.
Yeah.
He's saying the original. And I'm saying that this one can be much better because you get George Miller able to say, I'm going back into my world. I'm going to do things that I wasn't able to do back in the day. With now I have a better budget. I have different actors that I can work with now, and I've been able to develop this story for so long and put together. This is going to be the best. Hands down, the trailer alone should get everyone excited. This is going to be the best one we've ever seen.
Hal.
Yeah, I gotta go with Kristian on this, but like take it a step further. The old one is going to feel dated in comparison to the new one, and the fact that we have George Miller doing this and just taking the best parts. I mean, look at the trailer. The trailer like makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, or the hair on my goddamn hairy arms go bananas.
They're very hairy.
Yes, because it is non-stop. He gets it. He wants to right the wrongs. He wants to trim the fat. And if it's anything like the trailer, it looks like it's going to be just a 2-hour non-stop chase through the desert with explosions.
I'm agree here. So Mark, you're in the outs in this. Tell me why the original is going to be better.
Well, from hearing everybody's argument, look, I saw the trailer and I was excited too, but let me tell you the story of another guy who was going to redo his franchise with all these new effects and budget, and it was going to be great, and I can't wait to get back into this world now that I have every technological whim at my fancy, and that was Star Wars, and that was the prequels, and that didn't end well, and that didn't make the original look dated. It made them look better by comparison. Now, I don't think that's going to happen with this. However, when you think about Mad Max, you think about that gritty, realistic, independent film, punk rock kind of vibe, which is what you got from the first two films. And now here, you have all these effects, you have all these great toys at the disposal, but I think that you're going to miss some of that grit, some of that realism when you get into a too technologically savvy
Are you
world.
counting Road Warrior and Beyond Thunderdome as well, or are you only picking Mad Max?
I'm picking Mad Max and Road Warrior.
Well,
I mean, Star Wars is a completely different entity. But like Lucas obviously set out to make toy commercials, and
but how do we know? I mean, I'm just saying. But that's the same. It's like everybody loved the Phantom Menace trailer.
Because here's the other reason. You want to compare Star Wars, the prequels, to this. The difference is that you don't have. This is another story of Mad Max. This isn't pertaining into anything else that we have seen before on screen. Unlike George Lucas, where he had to piece up stuff that happened with the Obi-Wan conversation, and none of it made sense. So that's a lot what this is a brand new story in a character that we're familiar with, but we don't know what he's been doing. And the difference with the other Mad Max is you just had Mel Gibson. Really, you had some quality actors around him, but no one as the level of Oscar-winning Charlize Theron. This is going to be her movie. Tom Hardy is one of my favorites of all time and will absolutely embody what Mad Max is. But this is going to be Theron's movie. It's a strong female character that you just see already what she's going to do. And this opens up for a new franchise. And I don't agree with the George Lucas comparison because, like you said, it was about financial gain more than it was story and growth.
Wait,
Absolutely.
so Tina Turner wasn't as good as Charlize Theron?
No.
Master Blaster runs bar to town.
Right.
But see, it's easy to say that now in hindsight. That yes, it was. But we were all really excited about the prequels when we saw the Phantom Menace trailer. And that's all we have to go on. So I'm watching the trailer and I'm really excited, but I'm going with some apprehension. Plus, because Star Wars was a universe that you wanted to see expanded with all these new technological toys. I like the fact that it's this post-apocalyptic world and that it feels independent and gritty and real. And I think that sometimes when you watch
did
the
you
trailer,
see the trailer? It looks gritty as all hell.
It does, but I just feel like sometimes that if you give a director a lot of these toys, that sometimes
there ain't going to be no pod racing. There ain't going to be no pod racing.
I hope not.
And George directed all three, and what he didn't do in the first trilogy was direct all three. So he didn't go what made that first trilogy work. So when he went back, he didn't do the same things. George Miller's doing the same stuff, but using what he has now, the new tools, the new actors, the development of the script for a very long time. This is a continuation of the world that he wants to continue, and it looks like it. It looks like it hasn't missed a beat.
I also want to see Mad Max because I don't want to see Mad Max dominated by somebody else. I'm going to see that character. I think the Charlize Theron character is going to be a great sidekick, but I do worry about her storyline overtaking because, I mean, Mad Max, he's not talking that. I mean, he's not doing anything.
He never talks.
He's not doing that much.
But he never talks.
I know he doesn't. But
Stoic.
it's like, I get that he's stoic, but that's what I want to see. I don't want to see all this other crap around him. I stand by my argument. I mean, look, this.
No,
the trailer is balls to the wall.
It is, and that's Sandstorm alone.
So is the Phantom Menace.
And not only that,
was the Phantom Menace trailer that good? Come on.
It was awesome.
I think the Phantom Menace was pretty good.
Awesome.
And not only is this trailer balls to the wall, it's also got like a poetry to it with that music and that score.
Because you see the dude's playing on the background. He's going to incorporate that what the world is. You see, they're playing the music on their car. He takes everything that's going on into that world, and he makes you feel as if you're there. You're going to feel that desperation in this car.
And here's the thing: it's got us talking. It came out of nowhere in such a crowded 2015. Yep. George Miller has gotten us excited, and if you remember back to Comic-Con, the Mad Max snippet that we saw was the most exciting thing to come out of Comic-Con, and he's just up the ante even more. There is no reason not to think it's going to be one of the best.
I gotta call it, and I agree too much with the other two. But I think you both made such passionate arguments. I'm giving Hal and Kristian the point because there was no point there.
They're teaming up against me, Andy.
They did. It's a tough one. I just didn't subscribe to the prequels. I don't know. It just feels like I think George Miller's learned a lot more than George Lucas did. Which
so do I. I was trying to win the argument.
It was a good try.
Just a little George Miller trivia, and I didn't know this. I was just looking him up. He also directed Babe, Pig in the City, and both Happy Feet movies.
Yeah. Oh, that was the last things. Those were the last things he did.
Very surprising.
That's
I should have brought that up in my argument.
All right, round 5. Sony Studios, obviously the hack we talked about earlier. We don't support it, but we do when it spreads all over and there's movie news. We are too tempted to read what the movie news is, not the other drama. Yeah. But one of the most interesting things that came out of this was the fact that they might be doing a Men in Black 22 Jump Street crossover, which I found fascinating, which prompted Hunter D. Sander on Twitter to ask us, what would be the ultimate movie crossover? Now, I think for the spirit of this, let's not do obvious choices. Like, let's combine two things that we would have thought about, and where would we want to see him go? Hal, let's start with you.
So I think about what would I most want to see? What two characters would I most want to see together that would blow my just tween nerd mind? It would be Batman. We all have a tween nerd inside of us. Was that weird?
Dan is fact check that?
Yeah. Check the Dan cam. You just gave me major stink eye.
What would the tween nerd?
I could see nerd mind. I just never thought of you having a tween mind. How?
I'm a tween at heart.
Get to the point.
Batman and Wolverine. Wow, man! If you could get those two on the same playing field, Jiminy Crickets, man! Who the hell would win that battle? What a dark, epic movie that would be to have Batman and Wolverine. And plus, you have who's the good guy, who's the bad guy in that battle, because you're going to have a faction of the public saying, "Oh, Wolverine is a mutant. We got to be anti-mutant," and then you got to have a faction of the public being like, "No, the vigilante, this dark vigilante, is the bad guy," and we're both good guys, but this guy, I have to stop this guy. And man, seeing those two clash.
I wonder what the weapon would look like. I wonder if someone could go find the weapon. Oh, wait, they can. If you look up our other show, Man at Arms, go look up Batman's Wolverine claws. It's pretty sweet. Shout out to Baltimore Knife and Steel. I'm sorry. We're up to Kristian. Who do you think?
Well, the studio politics alone makes me not want to see that. It's going to do all
the Sony drama. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For me, I want to see the action hero reboots have worked. The first Expendables was fun, but let's do ones of two beloved characters. How about John McClane and John Rambo? To have those two and are setting around the tone of, say, what like Rambo 4 was, that kind of crazy action to where they actually showed real blood popping off here. I don't want to see, because the Rambo 4 was better than any of the last two.
You know what we call this movie? Old. One last paycheck.
Maybe.
Is it called The Expendables?
No, I don't want to see. I know that I want to see the two of them. I want to see those two iconic characters, because you will have
in their age now.
Okay. I mean, look, if we get to a point in performance capture where we can take them both in their 30s, then that's the ultimate.
Just put some hair follicles on Bruce Willis. That's all I care about.
Wouldn't you want to see that McClane somehow gets caught up in a John Rambo adventure? It would be off the walls, balls crazy. That's all I want to see. And then
Is Jai Courtney in it?
No. Then you have Jean-Claude Van Damme come in there, fight Steven Seagal in the middle of a living room, and then RoboCop.
Now you're
comes
talking
in.
about
that's-
Expendables.
You should.
Yeah,
You
and
should. Look.
Well, all right. What about RoboCop?
You guys are all taking. Here's the thing: is that you had these two great franchises that really looked like we may never get a good reboot of them again. And then what happened? You got Nimrod, what's his face, made Predators. That was a really cool new spin on the Predator franchise. And then you had look at Christian's shirt. Planet of the Apes is back, and it's better than it ever has been. So what if you combine those two universes? Because what's going to happen when the apes ultimately take over Earth from the humans? There's going to have to be a new enemy that comes from somewhere that's not Earth. The predators love hunting. What is a better enemy to hunt than the apes? That's like the Alien 2.0. This is going to be an incredible, mind-blowing crossover franchise.
Are they in the same studio, Dan?
Yeah, they are.
What's
Fox.
that?
Does Fox own both of them? They do?
Apes and Predator.
Apes and Predator?
Okay,
yeah.
screw the argument. Let's actually go pitch
double
this.
check, yeah.
They're like we can do this today, guys.
Yeah.
I got free time. We can do this today. I just think this would be such a cool fight to watch them because I think that you could have a faction of humans that are still living underground somewhere watching this stuff happen. But
Yeah,
I think
plus
that
we know how well Predator versus Alien worked. Oh yeah, it didn't.
It never does. And it's like, how do the apes fight the predators? I mean, it's going to be the whole point of the apes is
Yeah,
that
it's
they
gonna be
eventually
fish
get rid
in a
of
barrel.
It is because eventually the whole point of the apes is that they eventually get rid of all of the human weapons and all. They
I
have
think
their
they'd
own.
be on horseback with machine guns.
They don't have
apes
they got-
on horses.
Not if we're talking about the eventual evolution. There are no guns.
No, but
or
that's-
ships.
that's-
Listen, the
machine guns don't die. Go away.
The
They get rusty.
tagline for AVP was whoever wins, we lose, and we did because
Yeah.
it was not done well.
Yeah.
And I'm just afraid they're gonna wreck it.
I think there's been bad Batman movies too, and there's been a really crappy Wolverine movie too. Like these all have misses in there, but I think that the most exciting prospect is seeing these two franchises already have been made back into good movies. Unlike Die Hard, which has just fallen off the rails, and Rambo, which is like there's a reason why the Expendables.
Last Rambo was good.
The last Rambo was really good, but where is the new Rambo? Wait, wasn't he going to go?
He's going to be with John McClane in my spinoff.
Here's my problem. Because I love Die Hard. I love Die Hard with a vengeance. Like Die Hard's
Yes,
first
is
three, yeah.
so great. But is he done? Is it over?
Well,
Like, can John McClane do it again?
it's-
Because
it's very
he's
hard
tried
not to.
twice.
Yeah.
And you could blame a lot of people, but I feel like he's still phoned up both of them in. Like, does
I
he have
agree,
them anymore?
but I think
Yeah.
that this is why this could work if you did it, is because you don't necessarily need him to chime in as much, and a couple one-liners here and there. But as long as you turn, you get a little sick. Oh, he's just phoning in, but then you turn, you slap, and he's blowing
But
away
it's
somebody
become
on the
kind of
corner.
sad now. The last Die Hard movie was sad.
the last Expendables movie was kind of like, oh, geez.
Yeah, when Stallone teamed up with De Niro to do the boxing thing again, that movie was sad. It's just sad now. It's one sad movie after another for those, sadly, because in their prime, that might have been kind of cool, but now, ugh.
What's really going to be bad in the Wolverine Batman movie is when halfway through the movie they realize that they're both good guys, and what
Yeah,
are we really
I
fighting
was-
for here?
I was
The
just
Predators clearly love hunting stuff, and the apes are going to be one of their most fearsome opponents. Plus, the apes they travel in packs. They're going to outnumber the Predators, but the Predators have more advanced weaponry. I think that this is going to be such a cool crossover for both of these, and they can go to other planets. They can do anything. You can drop apes off in the new Predators planet that Nimrod made. I mean, there's so many options here.
What year
with
do you?
this universe.
When do you put that? When do you set it? Because
I think that I like the current where the universe of the apes is going
right now, so the next jump from Dawn is this movie.
No, I mean they need to fully eradicate, and I think that they're going to have their own planet for a while. They're going to
it's
get
like
settled.
Leprechaun in space,
Yeah.
Christian.
No, see, the reason it's going to take years later is you're going to take away. The reason I asked that is because if you're going to go years later when it's evolution, Caesar's not going to be there. Caesar's the best part of the apes, and
There'll be another Caesar.
So was
No,
George
they won't.
Washington was our best president, but there's
Mark,
other
you
presidents.
just
saying
way
that
over
Caesar.
Caesar's
That's not fair to
son.
say, though.
Caesar's son's gonna be.
But
great.
we don't know if you're talking about character performances. And Andy Serkis will not be there. Andy Serkis makes
Who's to
those
say?
movies.
Andy Serkis couldn't play Caesar's
Yeah.
son.
Yeah, what do you mean Andy Serkis can't? What do you mean? What do you mean?
All right,
He's great. Star
I gotta
Wars.
call
Does
it.
yoga.
I'm calling it for these reasons. I feel like they've made that movie. It's called The Expendables, and I don't think any. Now, if we could do the motion capture version and go back to the day, I'd be on board for that. But I just feel like that's gonna look like the Polar Express, and I don't want to watch that. And then Hal, I gotta say, the idea of it sounds cool, but I feel like they'd ultimately be like, you're not bothering me. You're not bothering me. And they go their separate ways, and there really wouldn't be much of
maybe
a conflict.
at the very end.
So
at
I don't
the
know where
very end of the
as much as
movie.
I love the idea of hearing Batman versus Wolverine, I just don't feel like they do anything together, and I don't see that. So ultimately, I'm going with apes versus predators. 'Cause
Yes.
I actually think that's kind of fun. And Dan, could it happen? Are they in the same studio?
20th Century Fox.
Let's go.
Oh, wow.
Let's drive
And
there
I
right
think
now.
you gotta wait though. It's not. You gotta do probably 3 more sequels, and then we're like, all right, now what? let's send a Predator.
Okay, so Stallone and Bruce Willis are going to be dead, and then we can make our movie.
And what's great is it's all CGI, and it's all they can do that whenever they want, and it can still be great.
And you know what?
Amy
Mark,
Pascal's trying to buy the rights right now.
Mark, I thought you were just being kind of flip when you said that the director of Predators was Nimrod. What's his name?
No,
his name is actually
Nimrod Antal, right?
Nimrod Antal.
He also did the Metallica movie, yeah.
Yeah, that's. I thought you were just.
So Metallica can do the
call him a
soundtrack.
Nimrod.
I thought you were just calling him a Nimrod.
All right, round 6. This one comes in from another Twitter asker, Theobald Claudel. This is spurred by the Happy Sad, what is the Happy Sad Confused podcast? That's right. Apparently, Pacino met with Marvel. So our question is, what should he play? If he came in the Marvel Universe, Al Pacino, who would you want to see him play? Do we want to see him in the Marvel Universe? Also, and who would he want to be? Let's start with Kristian.
Yeah, I want to see him in the Marvel Universe, and I want to see him play Star-Lord's dad. I don't know what necessarily the character has to be, but we're looking for Star-Lord's dad, and I'm sick of, the obvious choice is make him a villain. Let's make him a villain, and let's go off the devil's advocate type stuff, and let's make him a villain. I don't think that he's done that before. I want to see him play that, use those acting chops he has, and be. There's a reason. There's a complex character. Why did he leave Star-Lord? There's a reason why. What else has he been doing? He was a powerful guy, and even when Star-Lord's mom mentions it in the beginning on her deathbed of how great her father was, let's see that greatness of what Pacino can do inside of this kind of regal character. He hasn't played a character like that in a while, and let's see the power of Pacino. Let him make Star-Lord's dad.
Mark.
I think that Pacino is best served in a universe that we have not yet seen on screen, and so I think for Inhumans, he's the perfect choice, because Inhumans, I originally wanted him to play this character Black Bolt, but then Black Bolt has a cousin who gets cast out because he doesn't agree with him, the power struggle. And just thinking about that scene where Pacino is disagreeing with his leader and he gets cast out into this netherworld situation and he gains mysterious powers, that could be perfect for somebody who likes to go over the top like Al Pacino does. I think that if you try to wedge him into an already existing universe, it's going to feel a little forced. But if he gets to be one of the centerpieces, one of the cornerstones, much like what Anthony Hopkins was in Thor when we first saw him, I think that's what he could be for the Inhumans film.
Hal.
I gotta go Mephisto. Mephisto, he is very similar to Satan or the devil, but he's not the devil per se, but he is a devil-like character. And Pacino is a guy that chews scenery. If he played this evil devil-like character, he would be the cock of the walk. He could have his field day and do basically the only thing he's capable of now. Like we talk about, let's see him get back to his acting roots. He's not this Pacino anymore. He's this Pacino. We don't want to hear, Peter, I'm your father. Hoo-ah. If I was half the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to Thanos.
I would love to see him. Star-Lord, I'm your father.
What the hell's an Inhuman?
You gotta get on the ship. You can see him yelling because he's. Why can't he be that? There's a reason he was a leader. Star-Lord's father was a leader. Why can't he yell? Come on! You can see him screaming, yelling on the ship. But let's have him being positive. We've seen him be a devil already. He's done it. He's got the DVD right there. Pass. Let's go next to. We want to see him do something brand new. Let's put some gravitas into Star-Lord's dad. It's Pacino. Pacino is Star-Lord's dad. Sign me up.
My fear with him in Guardians 2 is that it would seem like they're trying to wedge Al Pacino into Guardians of the Galaxy. It just feels weird saying, oh, by the way, now Al Pacino's joined. But I think when you put him with a new crew of people that we've never met before.
But how old is that character you're talking?
He's of the age. Black Bolt is about 60, I think. Okay. I'm not sure. These are alien years we're talking about, okay? So I'm not sure what the age difference is.
Mephisto has ties.
Does any of us really understand who or what the Inhumans are?
No, and that's why I think it's so long. Me. When that movie Inhumans comes out, it's until like 2018. Pacino's already like 70-something years old.
So 1 year difference between your movie and my movie. 1 year difference.
From Guardians?
Oh, we got you there.
Yeah, Guardians is 2017.
Well, but it's also
Inhumans is 2018.
All right, well, it's more of an unknown property, though,
Why do you hate old people? That's the real thing. Why do you
I wanted to play the father!
Why are you ageist? Mephisto has ties to Thanos. He heavily influenced, tried to manipulate Thanos and how to use the Infinity Stones. And he also has ties to Thor. He's got, and he's throughout the universe. And that's the natural.
But wouldn't you want to see Pacino go head to head with Thanos if there was a possibility to where like you could have a back and forth with something to where Pacino? No,
do I want to see
that? I don't mean a fist fight. I don't mean a fist fight. I'm talking politics. I would love to see because you're gonna need his father to help him out, and because you don't think. think that Pacino coming up with a plan of how to take on, because this is Guardians starting to carry on to the bigger part of the universe. Guardians is going to carry into the Inhumans and into Avengers.
But then come into Al Pacino's movie.
If you're going to put
Is he
Pacino
going to be a
in
distraction? Is what I would.
No,
want to
not if he's in a smaller role like this.
Can he play? Because I don't. But which way do you want to see him? You want him eating the scenery, being Star-Lord, or do you actually want him to be try and go back to a subdued Pacino?
I think that if he needs to hit those big scenes in a particular moment, if he's having the conversation, why'd you leave? I had to. Fine. But it's a majority of.
I'd hate that scene. I would hate that scene.
I had more responsibility.
There's no version of a Pacino role that would not at least have that moment.
You have to have that moment.
His last best movie, he couldn't even contain it. In Heat, he's still got to be like, she's got a great ass, you know.
And you got your head all the way up it because you're not paying attention
Look,
to the fact that Al Pacino.
Let it. You gotta just
Look,
let him
I'm going to say
do
two
his
things,
thing.
okay?
Let him have
I'm the least
and he will.
capable of doing an Al Pacino impression on this panel, and I don't know a lot about Inhumans, but from what I've read, it seems like a character who was once the friend of the king, and then he gets cast out, and he gains mysterious power. Seems like something that is more suited to Al Pacino's talents.
I gotta be fair.
I'll
I'll be upfront. I'm just so unfamiliar with it. It's hard for me to get excited about your even with you're trying hard, and I appreciate it.
But it's not ruining one of the movies that we already have.
So to me, it just comes down to exactly: is he ruining a movie we already have, or if he's gonna be, or do we just not want him at all? Is part of the other arguments. But if he's gonna do it, I feel like you just gotta have him do his thing and be the bad guy.
Well, why can't he do his thing as his father? I don't understand that.
Do you really want him to? Don't you think?
Why do you think he's just gonna be a dad? Like, hey,
movie?
no, because you don't know the character. First of all, we don't know exactly what his father is. We just know that he's a great man. We know that he had a lot of responsibility, and what was the reason he left?
Peter Quill.
But I
try to get out. But they keep pulling me back in.
Now let's go get Thanos. Ha! Hoo-ah!
I don't see Chris Pratt swimming out of Al Pacino's cock. I don't see that happening.
Agreed.
I don't see that happening.
Bad visual.
Wow.
Did you lose another point for that?
Dan, any facts before I wrap this up?
Oh boy.
Come on, Dan.
Al Pacino's 74.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree. I don't know much about the Inhumans, but just from the pictures and everything that I've seen, he seems a little old to be an Inhuman, just based off the art. Not making a judgment there.
Can I ask everyone else, honestly, do you want Pacino in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
No.
Yes, that's Star-Lord's father.
At the end of the day, no.
See, I do.
Kristian, you
No,
do?
no, no.
I do. I think that if you give him the right point, look, we have Robert Redford.
But that wasn't the question.
We had Robert
so.
Redford. We had Robert Redford.
He doesn't
already.
choose scenery.
Okay,
I gotta say, I was
Close.
leaning towards you a little bit, but then when you said you wanted him there, I think no one gets a point, because I don't want to see him in the universe.
I disagree.
Wait, so was this a trick question?
Yeah. Hal and I jumped ship.
Michael Douglas. Did you want Michael Douglas in the cinematic universe? Robert Redford? You don't want any of those classic actors in there?
They're more subtle.
Dude, Al
Pacino
Pacino
brings a Pacino. That
Not
is
always. He's got
I
that
don't want
movie
him to
coming.
distract.
he's
And
got
then
a
my
movie
problem is I
coming
know
out now.
nothing about Immortals. I guess I could just give you
Donnie
the point.
Brasco,
but,
you're saying.
I don't even believe you really know the Immortal.
I don't know shit
the
about the
Inhumans.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know
be calling them the
anything.
right thing. But see,
You're out of order.
I can't sign on board. And then Mephisto, I'm just like, it's just such a pair. I really want Devil's Advocate coming in to fight.
Can I have a piece of the king real quick? The reason
I don't
why
like any of them, so no one gets a
bullshit.
I took Inhumans because I didn't want to see him in any of the movies that we already had.
Come on.
What kind of kangaroo?
Let's not ruin it.
Can I just say, the role that he would have been perfect for has already been cast. I am Groot.
Yeah, right.
That would have been good, yeah.
No, I don't even think that. I don't know. It would sound the same every way.
Somebody
No,
get this
that's-
right.
Let's. I gotta. We're way behind. This is gonna be the longest episode we've done. I want to get us out.
wrong? You don't like
we all got
raccoons?
places to go. Number 7, round 7. Inherent Vice has dropped. Paul Thomas Anderson released it this weekend, which leads us to ask best Paul Thomas Anderson movie. And we're gonna turn this one a little faster. Let's start with Kristian.
Boogie Nights, not even a question.
Mark.
The Master, best acting he's ever gotten out
Hal.
of.
There will be blood.
All right, why?
There will
All
be,
of you.
Collective.
He's got a great body of work, but There Will Be Blood is the most focused, impactful movie he's made.
And it totally relied on Daniel Day-Lewis's performance. This movie had everything. Boogie Nights. It had the cast. It had a soundtrack. It captured the '70s perfectly, and in that world, it just delivered.
the
I think
score of There Will Be Blood is
It's
amazing.
a lot easier. Boogie Nights has a good soundtrack too. I think The Master is the best movie because it had the balls to take on something like Scientology and cults, whereas Boogie Nights is the porn and There Will Be Blood.
I'm gonna chime in.
Christian
The Master didn't do it. Did it really hit Scientology hard enough? Like, did it really get? It was.
Oh yeah, the Philip Seymour Hoffman's performance as this guy, and when he has those quiet moments and he explodes. I thought those were the two best
I'm a big
performances that year.
PTA fan,
Yes.
and I think The Master is way way underrated, but it is like a distant fourth or fifth when it comes
There Will
to
Be Blood
PTA's
is so
body of work.
long and boring, and to get to the milkshake part.
How is The Master not long and boring?
It's the performances are better. The performances are better than Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh no, they're not.
You get to watch two characters go back and forth through the whole movie.
Boogie Nights is the last movie that PTA had a lot of fun with. There's a lot of these other movies. They're great movies. I love the movies, but there's not a lot of fun in them. He was able to take that John Holmes situation that happened, and he spun a comedy. That scene with the firecrackers, and like you remember that stuff. You remember the humor of it. Mark Wahlberg's best performance ever. It made people started looking at him seriously because of that role. Put Burt Reynolds back in the spotlight. And Julianne Moore, still one of her best performances
It's
of
true.
all
And
time.
how could an argument be made that Daniel Day-Lewis is just doing Daniel Day-Lewis?
No, have you seen In the Name of the Father? Have you seen he's got many different flavors to him, and that's why he's won multiple Oscars. There Will Be Blood. It's probably the top of the heap of a great actor's career, his number one performance. It's got a great soundtrack, and it tries to tell a classic American story of this rugged individualism and coming and building an empire and going mad with power. It's such an amazing
I think
tale.
his
Talk about
filmmaking style is best served for two actors going head-to-head, which is what you got with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman. There's a lot of great characters in Boogie Nights. There Will Be Blood. One guy's the star of the entire show. I liked watching these two, but
Does
There Will Be Blood is a great movie. The Master is two great performances, not a great movie.
Does The Master and There Will Be Blood have Heather Graham naked on roller skates?
Okay, half a point for that.
The Master does.
And also, you say it's the only fun. There's so much dark comedy in Daniel Day-Lewis.
Here and there, as opposed to this consistent throughout Boogie Nights and everything. Even the awkwardness between William H. Macy committing murder somehow is
By the way,
humorous.
this is a Sophie's choice, having to talk.
It is.
Look, I hate all these
are awesome.
movies because
Any
they
of
gave him the ability to do Inherent Vice, which bored me to tears. So
I haven't seen it yet. But
Is Boogie Nights?
get ready to fall asleep.
Sorry, I'm gonna spit it out. Is it not bloated a little bit too? Like, do you feel like it's really stands alone as the perfect film?
I do, because it's the situation, because you're talking about power, it's the power in the building, and it was the American dream in such a strange environment, and it's from A to B to watch this guy who has no idea what he's doing in his life. He's dumb, has no clue, and then he stumbles into this profession that he's good at, and then becomes really great at
Story
it.
of Mark Ellis.
I do have to say, There Will Be Blood is a more unique film. Boogie Nights is great. I love it. I hate talking bad on it, but it's Goodfellas, it's Casino, it's his like homage to Scorsese.
And what the hell is wrong with that?
Oh no, it's great, but There Will Be Blood. No, and I love the movie, and I really like The Master, and I like Magnolia a lot. But There Will Be Blood is his most focused, on point film.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch Apes and Predators.
Well, I'll be honest, it's not The Master. The Master's not the best film.
knew
Master is
that,
a great
yeah.
performance, but it's not the best
I haven't
film.
seen the other
Who
two
are you
films.
leaning on in these two? I'm just curious in your thoughts. If you had to pick Boogie Nights over There Will Be Blood.
As far as a film goes, all I hear about There Will Be Blood is that it's Daniel Day-Lewis being great in a movie, kind of like The Master, where it's a great performance, but not necessarily the best movie. And I think Boogie Nights was his announcement. So I always go towards the one that put the guy on the map, if it's a toss-up, and I think that's what we got here, so I'd probably go with Boogie Nights.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not just stealing your opinion. I'm in the same boat a little bit, where I feel like it's performance more than movie, and I feel like...
But Hal's better looking than Kristian. I think we can all agree on that.
Boogie Nights as a movie just has a lot more going on, and it really did make Mark Wahlberg, who I think no one would have ever thought in a million years could have the career now he has. I mean, just from Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
So I get the point for helping you?
No.
Oh.
So Kristian wins the round, because Boogie Nights is the best one.
It's an
All
easy
right.
take.
Nice.
Last round here. Round
Talk about
8.
airplane food.
Round 8. Now this is our tease. This is our tease to Honest trailer this week. It's based on a very famous fantasy book. We'll say that. The best film adaptation of a book is Fight 8, and it came from Aaron Evans on Twitter. Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug is the last installment. The Five Armies is this installment now, right?
Right,
So that's triggering this, the coming out, which is, I guess I just gave away what we're doing.
Yeah,
Sorry, that was a terrible...
We're doing the Desolation of
Desolation of Smaug.
It's the next honest
You
trailer.
would be the worst. You would be the worst like voiceover in a trailer ever. Like coming soon. It's actually a guy. Oh wait, the crying
not
game.
that.
Shit.
But
hang
in
on.
honor of The Hobbit, which we are doing an honest trailer for this week, what is the best film adaptation from a book? Let's start with Mark.
The best film adaptation of a book is clearly Jaws, because when you say Jaws, people are like, oh, that was a book. Damn right it was. Peter Benchley wrote it, and Jaws is the answer, because when you see the film, you can't imagine this material working in any other capacity. The way that the music comes in, seeing the shark fin, the visuals that Steven Spielberg was able to do in Jaws, and just the fact that he pulled off such a still to this day realistic looking shark, and taking the story of those three guys and making that into a movie in amongst itself, having a drama on a boat with this horror below the ocean. The fact that that's in a book, him bringing that to a film, is incredible, and it's one of the greatest films ever made.
Hal!
It's a great movie. I don't know, how hard it was to turn that book into a movie, but let's take a massive tome like Lord of the Rings, and wow, what a success. Not only did it define, like, all fantasy going forward and everyone is borrowing from it, it made people think, oh, you can make so many 2- and 3-part movies. It diluted a lot of damn directors, including Peter Jackson himself. But Lord of the Rings, not only was it 3 great movies, but it's an Oscar winner.
It's 3 books, though, is my problem,
Right.
and so you didn't pick a book. So just I'm warning you that I'm not agreeing with your thing because you picked 3 books. But I get it. Kristian, what's yours, quickly?
You talk about as far as strength and being able to be ballsy. How about To Kill a Mockingbird? You look at To Kill a Mockingbird, because both Jaws, like you said, most people said, oh, that was a book. Everyone knew To Kill a Mockingbird was a book. And to be able to make that movie in the time that they did, to be courageous enough to tackle that subject matter with Gregory Peck, who at the time, doing that kind of role, might have hurt his career. Didn't matter. He put out a very, very courageous performance as Atticus Finch, and recognizable characters that everyone knew from that novel. It translated over perfectly, and it was just the transition between book, page, everything you read. I remember reading the book and then seeing the incarnation on screen. That was the Atticus Finch I was picturing in my head. It was very courageous. And now,
Dan, can you
because
hold
you
on,
didn't read
sorry,
the book
Dan,
in high
hold
school.
on. Dan, can you quickly just tell me when they were published and when they came out? I just wanted to,
When
the books were published versus when the films came out.
While
Go ahead.
I'm doing that, I think it's a little unfair to Hal, which is that The Lord of the Rings was written as one book. It was published in 3 volumes by the publisher, but it was intended to be, it's just one epic
And if
book.
you
Fair. All right,
and if
good.
you want me to just go with Return of the King, that was the coronation. You don't see, how often do you see a movie like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, let alone be nominated but win an Oscar?
Lord of the Rings, the book and the movies, some of the best of all time. The difference is there were so many differences from the book to the movie with both what Fran and Peter Jackson did, that it's not the best translation, because there's a lot of differences. There's a lot. The screenplays, great, book, great, but they're not the same. It's not the best.
See, I'm going to meet you in the middle then, because I think that what Jaws was able to do was take a story that was exciting in novel form, but Steven Spielberg took it to another level with the visuals. When you saw the fin, or when you see that shot going through the shark teeth, I think To Kill a Mockingbird's great. Gregory Peck is fantastic in it. But the movie, I mean, look, Harper Lee had already written a successful novel, so that's of course it's going to be made into a movie. Jaws took
not
something.
at that time, though. At that time, if it was today, then okay.
If you want to talk about time frame being revolutionary, there's no reason that Lord of the Rings ever gets made, or Star Wars ever gets made, if you don't have Jaws become the first summer blockbuster. The fact it was based on a novel is an afterthought, because Steven Spielberg adapted that source material to the screen.
It's a great movie. It's
so
one of the
well.
best movies of all time. But like you said, no one was really the book itself. You don't remember that movie because of all the stuff that necessarily happened in the book. You remember because of the scary visuals and what Steven Spielberg did as a director.
The most important, the most powerful
But that's a
thing
film adaptation.
was Peter Jackson
but not from
bringing
the
this
book.
whole world to life. Steven Spielberg made the shark scary. That book, it's a beautiful movie and book, To Kill a Mockingbird, but not that hard to translate. But the whole
I don't agree
Middle
with that
Earth,
at all.
the whole of Middle Earth coming to life.
All right, I need a little help on this, Dan, because we have to wrap
Yeah.
up. The show's got to go. And
okay.
Eddie, quickly.
Jaws was published in 1974, To Kill a Mockingbird was published in 1960, and Lord of the Rings was published in 1954-55.
Oh yeah, so daunting, but finally Peter
Right,
Jackson
but look at
was able to do
1960,
it.
right of all the civil rights. I mean, that is to put that movie out at that time. Are you kidding?
I think this is a really tough one, and you all made valid arguments. Where my gut is leaning is what Mark already sort of said, which was the fact that Jaws really defined the blockbuster in a way. And it's like the fact that you just didn't even think it was the book, but it just took the book to another level. But you make a good argument that it's, well, you want the book to be the thing, but I don't know. I like a movie that can actually make the book that fans of the book like, but then also takes a little bit extra. Jaws did that, and so to me, that's where I'm going to go with Jaws.
The
The problem with this is we're out of time, and that makes a tie between the Schmoes.
Yeah.
Do we do a tiebreaker quickly, or do we let you both win? Quickly tell me.
Why don't we?
You're in charge here.
Why don't we? Oh no, we can't. I was gonna say we could settle it on our show because you guys are actually gonna be on our main show on Thursday night.
Let's settle the score next
Let's
week.
settle it on your show.
Wow,
Is that?
you can call in.
This
terrible?
was not set up. We promised
That's
we did
the
not set
worst.
this up.
Yeah.
People
Let's
are gonna
do.
hate
No,
that.
they're gonna hate me.
right.
Tiebreaker. You have to do
right.
this very quickly.
Okay. All right.
This comes in from Strauss Regulation on Twitter. Tiebreaker fight. First one to answer it says it.
Oh, I didn't see it. I promise.
Sorry.
I promise I didn't see it. I swear.
Which action star do you want to be taken hostage with? Go.
John McClane.
Oh, yeah.
Mark wins.
That's This is like,
No,
I have to
pretty
be
good
honest.
set.
I would say John Matrix. Guy can take out an entire army commando with one
No,
shot.
I gotta go.
Come
John.
on, Bennett.
No.
John
Blow
McClane
off
wins.
some
Out of those two
steam,
choices,
Bennett.
McClane does win. All right.
Can I
that
say
was a
Gina
fake.
Carano?
You were 1 point away, Hal. It was close. Really quickly, thank you
horseshit.
so much for watching. This was an extra long edition. As always, tell us what you want to see in the comments below, what you want to fight. Also, iTunes, make sure you know we're there. Go subscribe. Schmoes Know channel, Popcorn Talk Network. You love them. So many good shows. Please check them out. Where do they go?
On YouTube.com right here. Go Schmoes Know and subscribe there and make sure you do that because this Thursday these guys are going to be on our main show and it'll be on that channel.
We're gonna be there.
YouTube.com Schmoes Know.
We're going to be there. Watch for it. I want to thank everybody. Hal Rudnick, at Hal Rudnick.
Yes,
Thank you.
follow me on Twitter at Hal Rudnick. Yeah, we'll talk about movies and whatnot.
Mark Ellis.
Yes, follow us at Schmoes Know and me at 5150 Ellis.
And Kristian Harloff.
Yes, I had Kristian Harloff post Instagram and Twitter.
You were so close, but Mark pulled it through.
Horse crap.
It was crap.
Dun,
But we'll
dun,
we'll do a rematch on your show. We're excited to be there. Dan Murrell and the Dan Cam. Anything you got to say?
Hashtag Botanicus.
At Murrell Dan and myself. Please follow me at Andy Signore. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next time. Have a great weekend.
I want Screen Junkies!
Every podcast we put on YouTube comes with this kick-ass graphic listing all the topics your favorite Screen Junkies podcasters are talking about. If you click the topics, you can skip around and choose your own podcast battle royale. Go ahead, try them all. If you haven't already, subscribe to Screen Junkies on YouTube to join us for future fights. Or if you prefer to listen on iTunes, click the logo to download an audio version. Lastly, please support our friends at the Popcorn Talk Network for more awesome shows.